So I've been craving a square watch for ages now, actually, and it was ever since I saw a Cartier Santos on the wrist of, ironically, another watch YouTuber at this event in Germany that I went to. And yeah, I thought that thing just looked absolutely immaculate. Way better than I expected. It was never a watch that was really on my radar, and it was never really on my radar because, well, I can't afford a luxury watch like that, or at least I can't justify spending that much money on one. Up until now, my craving has had to be soothed by this pretty little thing, the Timex E-Line Automatic. Very nice little watch. This one's seen a ton of wrist time, but it just didn't quite have that same classical styling as some of the Cartier models, and I'm hoping to quench my lust with one of these, perhaps. In here, we've got some new square watches from Casio, which bear more than a passing resemblance to some of the Cartier models for, as you can imagine, a fraction of the price. Now, out of these 3 watches, only 2 of these are actually brand new. This one here is a slightly older model, which looks more like the Cartier Tank, but I figured while I was at it, might as well grab all 3. I'll affiliate link them all below if I can find them, and I say that because lots of these Casio new releases seem to release in like 1 or 2 territories around the world, and then it takes an eternity to reach everywhere else, or just never does in some cases. So I had to order these from Zalando, a place I've never really shopped at before. Hopefully by the time you're seeing this, you can get hold of these more easily. But yeah, the new model in question is the MTP B190, as you can see there. So we'll take a look at them, as well as this one. This is the slightly older one. Now the LTP code is, I think, supposed to mean that it's targeted at the ladies market, whereas the MTP being the male market. But to be honest, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And there've been quite a few LTP watches that have been pretty big, considering they're supposed to be ladies' watches before. For context, then, let's take a look at this one first of all. Now, this one proved semi-popular. I think I've seen 1 or 2 videos about this watch. Maybe not this colour in particular. This was the only one that was really available. Oh, have a bit of box damage. Now, this was supposed to be brand new, but this has definitely been opened. As you can see, it's inverted. Now, that wasn't me. I only opened the box just to check what it was, because I've got a few different watches coming. And yeah, actually, pretty nice looking watch, this. And one thing that does strike me that's small is the strap. Hopefully that will fit me. I have got a pretty small wrist, and here's a quick look at it. Now, this is what people were calling the Casio Tank, and you can see why, can't you? Certainly bears more than a passing resemblance. Particular code name for this one is B165GL2B. And yeah, this watch actually looks much better in the flesh than I expected. I've got to say, in the online videos I've previously looked at for this watch, I wasn't all that impressed. But in person, it's actually quite neat. Definitely towards the dressier end of the spectrum, though. You can see with this black stitched strap, and that navy and gold color scheme contributes to that too. And this one never really came out in many mainstream colors, unlike this next one, but it's actually quite attractive. Not sure how this one's going to fit me. The closest thing to a square watch I've ever worn regularly is obviously the Timex here, and proportionally they're quite a bit different. This one is definitely a lot narrower. As you can see on the dial there, 50 meters of water resistance. Also a stainless steel case. I'll just quickly check what the crystal is on this one. So yeah, they're calling this mineral crystal. Now, obviously you can see on the dial there, everything is printed, which isn't all that surprising, but that doesn't hamper the looks, I have to say. This one cost me £79.99, so certainly wasn't really expensive or anything. Still uses a quartz movement, as you might expect, but not quite as cost-effective as some of the cheaper grey market Casios you can occasionally find, although this model is becoming rarer by the day. Now, the strap is, you know, very mediocre to say the least. This is like AliExpress quality, unfortunately. Well, first of all, let's just quickly grab you the measurements, and then we'll show you the brand new model as well. So this one was only 24.6 wide, so I do feel like this may be too small for a lot of people. You can see why they describe this as a ladies' watch. Only 35.4 lug to lug. It's also quite slim, 8.5 millimeters. And there's a look at it for reference on my 6¼ inch wrist. Actually, doesn't fit me too badly there. I could probably just about get away with that one. Certainly has more of that mid to early 20th century sizing, which means it does look fairly authentic, but I definitely get the impression that for most men, this is gonna feel probably too small compared to what you'd like. Although the strap actually seems to have enough holes to get comfortably over an inch bigger than my wrist. Although at that point, this watch may look cartoonishly small. So there's a quick look at the endangered Casio tank, as they call it. A watch that's increasingly difficult to get hold of. Don't know why they didn't fully try and release this, because I imagine it would have been pretty popular if they'd gone the whole hog. But I think potentially this new one is even more interesting. This one looks more like the Santos being a bit of a bigger Cartier watch. Now, for full transparency, I'm not super clued up with luxury watches or Cartier watches, but I'm assuming that they do come in multiple sizes, or at least there are multiple versions available. So I'm not sure which ones these are most similar to, but the price tag certainly isn't similar. These also cost me around 80 quid each, and surprisingly, the bracelet version was the cheaper of the two. Usually the opposite way around, but I'm assuming that's because one has got that kind of gold plating on the case. Now, this model on the left here was the one I was really interested in. I figured I would just grab the other one to show you what it looked like, pretty much. And here it is, the MTP B190D. And first impressions, straight out of the box, well, I think it's fairly good looking. Now, is it as good looking as a Cartier? Definitely not. And I do think one thing it's missing is a bit of colour, perhaps, because I'm sure that a lot of my favourite looking Cartier watches, when they've got a white dial like this, they often have like a blue or navy markers, not just black. So this one does look a bit monochrome, a little bit vanilla. How is it bad looking? I wouldn't say that, but it's also far from a direct clone, as you can see. The dial is pretty similar, but this case shape's a bit unusual here. It's got quite big hips and shoulders, almost the exact opposite of a typical watch. Personally, not quite sure I like that, but we'll find out when it goes on the wrist, I guess. This one also has a curved crystal, and it follows the curvature of the case there perfectly, which is something you really don't see very often on many affordable watches. Whether this is like a custom crystal, I don't know. But crystal clarity isn't really a problem there. The specs on this one, by the way, a stainless steel case, and most likely it'll be like 304 steel, like lots of the entry-level Casios are. Still better than chromed brass. We've got a 50-meter water resistance rating, as you can see printed on the dial there. Not sure that's quite necessary. I always prefer it to be on the case back if possible. And then this one also comes with a stainless steel band. Now, the band itself is basically minimum viable product. Now, it's not nearly as bad as the very cheapest Casios, you know, like the digital ones, but this is more in line with some of the old gen cheap Seiko 5 bracelets. So you'll see here, these are push-out links. I can't remember the full name for these. So I've just Googled it. The technical name seems to be cotter pins. Use those little holes there to either scoop out or hammer out this L-shaped piece of metal, essentially, to make any adjustments. So far from the easiest method of construction, and then you have to hammer them back into place. They're not ideal. And what's also not ideal is only one micro adjustment hole, unfortunately. Now, that is roughly equivalent to half a link size, as you can see. So you may get away with it, but from experience, I definitely prefer a little bit more fidgeting room than that, just to guarantee a comfortable fit. So not a disastrous bracelet, but certainly not as good as those on the likes of some AliExpress watches. I'll give you a quick close-up of this one, and then I'll quickly show you the other colour too. The Casio Santos does look pretty good. Oh, and I'll definitely get the sizing in a second as well for you. Do like the look of the dial, just not 100% on the old case there. Now you can see straight away, in fact, that this is significantly bigger than the previous Casio tank. It almost looks like it's twice the width, so it really should give a substantially different wear experience. And as for width, it kind of depends where you measure. If you go directly for the center there at the narrowest point, it's only just over 30 millimeters, but it's going to be wider surely at those protruding parts. Yeah, that's more like 31 and a half. So far from huge still, but if you've ever tried a square watch before, you'll know they do tend to wear bigger than round watches, or they look bigger at least. 40.8 millimeter lug to lug though, so still quite short. And then at the highest point of that domed shape, only 8.2 thick. And there it is on my 6.25 inch wrist. And I have to say, it looks pretty good. I mean, the case finishing is a bit Bobby basic, admittedly, but the polishing does seem to stand out. You can see it does glisten quite nicely in the light there, with some quite attractive reflections. I think once the excess of that band is taken away, that might be viable for my arm there. Certainly more wearable for a wider variety of wrists too. Even if you got quite a big wrist, I suspect this will still fit because it's big without worrying about a long lug to lug, which is good. Yeah, I do like this. And I also like the kind of concept of it being really quite similar to the look of some of these Cartier watches without being an outright clone. Essentially, they've actually put some semblance of thought into the minutiae of the design here, and it does look quite good. I mean, one thing I will say is the curvature, as you can see here, kind of scoops up your sleeve in a way, which I don't think I've seen on a watch before, but that's probably accidental more than intentional. Yeah, I really quite like the look of this. Might experiment with this on one or two straps. What's the lug width actually, out of interest? It's 20 millimeters as well, so yeah, quite a versatile size. I've also purchased, like I said, one of the gold versions, which was a tenner more. Now they also do a black dial version as well, but I couldn't get the combination that would cover both faces, you know, a black one with a gold case at the time of recording, so it's got to be the same dial again, unfortunately, but we'll give you an idea of if that case looks any good. Because sometimes these gold cased watches can look really quite cheap. But luckily, I don't think this is one of them, actually. To me, it doesn't seem to look too yellowy, which is nice. There's a look at this one. This one has, I think, GL on the end of the code name. Yeah, MTP 190 GL7. And as you can see, this one comes on a leather strap instead. The quality, which is definitely better than that comes with the Casio Tang. I think just because it's firmer, it kind of suits the style of this croc effect leather. There's a quick look at the case on this one. As you can see, it's pretty basic structure. Unfortunately, no quick release tabs there on the straps, so you will need a spring bar tool for that. Also, both these watches just have a snapback rear there, which is the norm for watches of this style. Does keep this very, very thin though. A very flush fit with these watches. Now, I can't deny, I think it looks pretty good again. Not sure personally I would particularly get a lot of use out of a watch like this, at least this color combination and design. I'd get much more use probably out of the silver one, I suspect. But yeah, these are definitely a little bit better looking than I expected. You never can quite tell with Casio's product imagery, because sometimes it makes the watches look significantly worse. And the strap itself is okay, a little bit rigid at least for now, and I can just about get away on the final hole there of that strap. So if you've got a wrist substantially smaller than mine, this watch will probably be a no-go out of the box. Yeah, you'll have to let me know in the comments section which of these three you personally prefer. As for luminescence, well, I'm not expecting anything. I'll just quickly check. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing there. And yeah, out of these two, I think I do probably prefer the one on the left, albeit the sizing is going to be problematic for many, I suspect. But yeah, these new Casio Santos style watches linked below, hopefully, and I suspect people are either going to love or hate them.